Good, good evening, class. So, thank you very much for joining CAD 152. I'm very grateful. Just kind of want to continue from where we left off the last time. Um, just kind of want to go over some of the highlights of Chapter 1. We described the various applications of AutoCAD. We also looked at the importance of planning your work and creating a system whereby your work is manageable. Okay. We also highlighted the importance of drawing to standards, and that's very important. No matter where you go, what industry you work with or work for, there will be some kind of standards that you have to adhere to. So my job really is to just kind of guide you in the right direction as to how to find this information and how to implement it. And we also talked briefly how to start a new drawing and also how to interact with the AutoCAD interface. And lastly, as of last week, we talked about some of the basic functionalities of some AutoCAD commands, such as align, how to modify, how to use the layers. Okay, so I just want to kind of keep that spirit going on. There's a lot more in chapter one that needs that I did not cover. I tend to have a habit of going forward to kind of show you some things ahead of time before even the book talks about it. So when I do keep up with the book, you've seen it before. So it won't be the first time that you've seen that concept, or it won't be the first time you've heard me say something about that particular concept. So I just want to highlight the differences between a 2D and a 3D drawing. I also want to address how the different ways of creating a new page, because there's multiple ways in which you'll find out in AutoCAD and any kind of software. There are multiple ways of doing one thing. So is this typically how you think? What's your preference? Is how you're going to set up your interface to suit your personality. Okay. Um, I also wanted to talk about the view cube, which we'll get more into that in terms and when we get into like 3D and isometric drawings. I also wanted to kind of dive into some of the aesthetics of the software. How do you control your crosshairs? Um, Another aspect of efficiency will be looking at the toolbar axis. How do you add to it? What does the application menu comprise of? We're going to look at the ribbon a little bit more. The How many dialog boxes? Again, you'll find out that there are numerous dialog boxes in AutoCAD. You may click 3-4 times just to be able to get to where you're trying to go to, or you can actually customize it where you don't have to click as much. So again, it's up to you. It's your preference, but it's my job to show you these availabilities, and then you choose what aspect of the task or what aspect of the efficiency that you want to be able to retain. We talk about dynamic input and what does it mean to get help, and I want you to try a few problems. Okay, so that's for chapter one. And chapter two, we're going to talk about, again, we're going to continue talking about a new drawing, but also add to it what is a template. Okay, and the importance of saving your work. I can't stress enough, saving your work is so important. It's just so important because you could, if you don't save your work or get in the habit of saving your work, typically what happens is the light could go out, anything can malfunction, and then you sat there for 2-3 hours on a drawing and it's all gone. Okay, so we're going to look at there's some few things I would like for you to address, to read yourself. Okay, again, I won't be able to cover everything, but I'm going to give you as much as I can for each chapter as far as the learning objective is concerned, and I'll point you in the right direction to get more in depth in terms of the reading and the knowledge. Okay, we're gonna look at some drawing limits, and I have a few questions I'd like for you to review. Then we're gonna dive into chapter three, ways to draw a line. I showed you one way how to draw a line. There's multiple ways. Again, each way it's based on your personality, how you find it very efficient. the way I showed you is how I find it very efficient for me. Okay. Um, but I'll show you other ways as well. And then we'll talk about some drawing aids and then some important commands that you typically should know, like, Control Z, which is undo, or you could type in undo, or you can type in U for undo. Again, there are different ways of initiating a command. Some people like the keyboard, some people like the mouse more. Again, it's your preference. And then we'll dive into a class exercise, which will be a separate. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to break it up as much as I can. Um, so it won't be, you don't have to sit there for long hours, but you can have it in pieces as you go, and then you can review it at your leisure. Okay. So I like to go into the differences between a 2D, two-dimensional, and three-dimensional drawing. Keep in mind that two-dimensional drawings are really a XY plane. Okay, and these kinds of drawings, they typically include dimensions or some kind of notes and symbols to kind of give you, the viewer or who's ever reading the print, some kind of information. And these kinds of drawings are typically used for manufacturing or construction applications. Then you have 3D drawings, which is pretty much constructed on a X, Y, and Z plane. So you have width, you have length, and then you have some kind of depth, or you may say height. And this kind of gives you some kind of flexibility when it comes to visualization. If you want to do some kind of simulation or some kind of analysis, you can do that through the 3D model. Okay, so this particular aspect of AutoCAD gives you a digital representation of the product, almost like a live um, representation of the product. And you see here, as I have highlighted, this is more of a 3D component. Everything is based on X, Y, and Z coordinate axis. Likewise to my right, same thing, but you can choose different colors to simulate the kind of materials that you want to use. Um, as I come down to my lower right, here is a combination of a 2D and a 3D embedded. So you have a part you have a cross-sectional cut that's given the manufacturer more details, and then up top here you have more of like a three-dimensional drawing. Okay, and again you have a cutaway right here, just symbolizing to the manufacturer what's going on in terms of more details. And then we're going to construct something like this in terms of our title block, and all the information that's needed to make this part a success has been outlined in this title block here. Okay, and then to my lower left, again, you can use this could be generated in a 3D model, really, this architectural layout, whereby you can see different facets of the house. Okay, so when you typically want to create a page, um, there's many ways. Again, you can type in go to start command. Okay, um, or you can just click new. Okay, or you can press control home button. So all these different all these different functions typically will give you so say for instance if I say go to start, as you can see, as I type in the actual function pops up, and then from here what you can do is you have a numerous information here. You can start a new drawing here. You can open some files that you've already saved. If you want to look at some of the sheet settings right here, you can do that as well. If you want to get more templates online, you can. Here in your recent document, this is something I've just been playing around with. It shows you your recent documents. Then notifications. One thing about AutoCAD, the more recent AutoCADs, they give you notification of any kind of updates. Okay, so you can typically you can click on this, and what it does is really allows you to go to that particular website, as you can see. And once you click on that notification, it will give you more updates on what's going on as far as AutoCAD is concerned. Okay. Sorry, let me go back to my drawing here. Let me close this up. Let me go to start. Okay. So again, I can keep. So it kind of gives you the dates and when things are happening. Have you tried importing styles from one drawing to another, but you couldn't figure it out? So it kind of gives you um, what's going on in terms of how to be more efficient in your AutoCAD experience. And if I go to my Learn, I'm going to come over to my left and just click to the left hand side. Here's an array of videos that you can use to kind of get started. Okay, here's some learning tips on the right hand side. So this is I really suggest that you take advantage of all these different sources of information to get more acclimated with AutoCAD. Okay, so let's I'm going to um, I'm going to just go to a click new, right, to give me a new page, right, and that kind of gives me takes me to a template that allows me to choose what template do I typically want. Do I want a, AutoCAD ISO, or do I just want the regular ISO? I'm sorry, AutoCAD Imperial. Okay, so these different templates are here. Now, if I go to more of the architectural, you can see here that a template is typically comes with a title block and also some information. This is like more very fixed, okay? But again, it's up to you. You can we're going to create it. We're going to create our own template, and we're going to create our own title block, okay? And you can actually because each industry is going to have a slightly different way they want to create their drawing. So I just want you to be very flexible. But here is I'm just showing you where the templates are, okay? So I'm going to cancel this. Now, if you don't want every time you click new and this template, um, this dialog box comes up, actually select the template, you can always come down here and you can click open with no template, either imperial or metric. And if you don't want that, um, let's say I just open up a new drawing for whatever reason, and I'm going to go to a model space. Okay, I'm going to type in here startup. Okay, startup. So once I type startup in my command line, I'm going to hit enter. And as you can see, the value here is 0, telling me that I want you to bypass this particular um, aspect of the process, and I want you to go to the template section, which I just showed you a few minutes ago. But if you type in 1 and you hit enter, so the next time you want to start a new page, it comes up like this. Now you can choose from this dialog box what you want to do. Either you want an imperial drawing or you want a metric drawing. Okay. So I just kind of want you to keep that in mind. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. So I just typically talked about this right now, how to create a page. You can you can create it from a template point of view, or you can bypass this and then you just go strictly to what I just showed you a few minutes ago, and you just choose whether you want imperial or you want metric. Okay. Um, so as far as the cube is concerned, um, if I may show you here, um, so with the cube, you have quite a few things going on. This cube typically is a view cube, is your roadmap to let you know where you are in the particular drawing. What direction do you want the drawing um, to be manifested? Do you want people to see the southwest view or the northeast view? It's typically up to you. At this point, it's two-dimensional, so there's necessarily no isometric components to it. But if I were to create a 3D a 3D view, as you can see, I have my X, Y, and Z view. Okay, and I'm just gonna just come back here and not get ahead of myself. So this is our top view, and this is going to be a a two-dimensional view. Okay, so then when you look under here, this is our world coordinate system, and then we'll get more into that. You know, it should be parallel with your user coordinate system. Okay, and then here you have your full navigation wheel. It allows you to do quite a few things. Okay, and it really specializes your navigation experience. And here's your pan, and pan allows you to, for instance, if I want to move this, okay, either I can move this, as you can see, if I press my wheel down, I can move this object left and right. Going right this way, going left this way. If I click pan here, I can do the same thing. Okay, and if I want to exit out of this command, I can right click and hit, and then left click exit. Or if I were to initiate the command again, I could just hit escape. Okay, escape key. Okay, so now you have now I just talked about the pan, now the zoom extents. So the zoom extents just typically allows you to see the whole object. In this case, you see there's a whole bunch of space around this object. So if I double click my wheel, it brings the object to you. Okay, likewise, if I hit zoom extents here, it will do the same thing as well. Okay, so now if you want to be able to orbit, again, this will not necessarily work because this is more for 3D applications. And then for your last component here, show motion, whenever you have some kind of simulation, you can kind of you can activate this particular key function. Okay, so I wanted to talk about also here while we're on the slide, I wanted to talk about your um, your workspace. So this is your workspace switching button here. So if I click this arrow, it gives me the option if I want to be in a drafting annotation mode, or if I want to go to my three-dimensional basics. And you can see my ribbon has changed up top. If I come further down to my 3D modeling, I have a lot more information here, a lot more tabs to play around with. And then we'll get a little bit into this. Again, this is AutoCAD is layered, and I just want to make sure that everyone understands the basic first before we start flying. Okay, so that's your 3D modeling, and then again, you can customize your own workspace if you want to. Okay, so this is no by default. It's going to be drafting annotation, and then you find that typically here. Okay, now I also wanted to share with you your customization tool here. Once I click these three buttons, there we go. Once I click those three, not buttons, but three horizontal lines, I can actually control my status bar. My status bar is what's down here. Okay, my status bar is what's down here. Okay, I can control all that. Everything is being checked. You see down here on my status bar. Okay, so you can control all of this, all of it from the coordinates. If I don't want to see the coordinates anymore, the coordinates would disappear. If I want them to reappear, they would reappear. Okay. If I didn't want my let's say my ortho mode, if I don't want that to be alive or in that status bar, I just click it, it will disappear. If I click it in, check it, it will appear. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to share that with you as well. Let's go back here. So pretty much talked about this slide. Then so the crosshairs. The crosshairs is very important. Very important in the sense that it allows you to make your drawings more efficient. Well, I won't say more efficient, but I would just say it allows you to just be comfortable with the tools that you're using. Okay, so with the crosshairs, it allows you to choose your objects or select them, and the way you can actually manipulate that is in the options dialog box. So I come back here. Let's say I come here. There's a few ways to get the options. I can under my under my applications window, if I come here under options, it will give me this dialog box. Okay, or you can just type in options. Okay, and it'll still give you the same dialog box. So under you go under in the options window under the display, you can actually change your crosshairs. Okay, so if I want my crosshairs to be 32, as you can see, my crosshairs is actually increased. Okay, right click to repeat options again. If I want to be able to minimize it, apply it, you can see my crosshairs are smaller. Okay, so you have that option to do that. And if you typically wanted to if you wanted to um, if you wanted to and play around with your aperture size, some people like the aperture size to be small. um, Sometimes it has advantages and disadvantages, especially when you're trying to clip very tight areas. If I click apply then close, you can see the aperture size has changed. Okay, apply it, close. Oops. Okay. Okay. So um, I would strongly encourage you to kind of get familiar with these different areas. Okay. Um, and this would typically help you um, just make tools a lot more efficient. So that was actually sorry, that was actually the pick box size. Okay, so I can actually change that. Okay, and we'll talk about the grip size later. Okay. 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 So if I wanted to here we talked about this, the crosshairs. If you want to be able to add to the quick um, tool, the quick access toolbar, we could do that. Okay, and we can do that by, let me just show you here. So I can, so if the say for instance I wanted to add this, if I wanted to add the, let's say the annotation aspect of things, right, to my quick toolbar. Okay, I can do that in various ways. Okay, I can, I can come over here and actually initiate that particular aspect of the panel. Okay, or that particular command. Okay. Now, let's talk about. So, if I wanted to add my, let's say I want to add my dimension, which I've already done that already. Let's say I want to add array to this particular command. I want to add it to my quick toolbar, which is what you see up here. I can just right click on this command and sorry, then I can say add to quick access toolbar, and you can see it right here. Okay, and I can remove it if I want to remove it from the quick access toolbar. And how I do that is I just right click, left click, and it's done. If I want to add it again, right click, left click to add it. If I want to remove it, right click, left click to remove it. Okay. Now, if keep in mind that AutoCAD also has shortcut menus. Okay, so if I right click, here's my shortcut menu right here. Okay, and it's always going to give me the repeat of the last command, which is my options, right? So if I were to draw a line, let's say I just drew a line here, okay, and I right click, as you can see, it will say repeat line, okay, and here's nothing more than a shortcut menu, okay. Now, going to our menu, you have the option again. This is your application menu here, okay. This is your application menu right here. Okay, and then you have the option of being able to, once you click, this dialog box will pop open, and then you can search for a command in this bar right here. Okay. Now you can type in a line, and it can kind of give you details about this particular line. And likewise, also, if you just really just hover over the actual um, command, it would give you just a little bit of brief information about that particular command. And if you want more, you just hit F1. Okay. Now we wanted to talk a little bit more about the, um, and again, if you want to be able to initiate a line, you could type it in the command line, like here. I can come here and just type in LINE and then hit enter, and then at that point, AutoCAD is asking me to specify my first point. Okay, hit escape to come out of that command. Okay. Now I have here my ribbon. Okay, so my ribbon comprises really of a few functionalities. Up top really are my tabs, like home, insert, annotate. Then you have this arrow right by the draw panel um, that allows you to fly. There's more commands in that particular panel. And again, your draw, modify, annotate. These are all panels, and they're titled drawer, modify, annotation, layer, block, etc. And again, the arrow next to them allows you to expand those particular panels. Okay, when you look up here in the upper midsection of this image here, you can actually minimize the panel buttons. And the reason why people typically do that is really to give them more workspace. Okay, so they don't have um, too many panels or too many functionalities or commands on their windows. Okay, and also if you want to create like more of this, now you have an arrow that's really at the side. So I come here, so you have these arrows that point straight down, and you have these arrows at the side. They all have different functionalities. In this case, it's going to initiate a palette. Okay, and we'll talk more about a palette. We'll talk more about that. But you have what you can do in this palette, you could also do in these ribbons as well. Okay, it's just an easier way to access it. If I want to be able to hide it or keep it fixed, I can do that. So it's a lot of multiple functionalities. I don't want to get ahead of myself though. But okay. So again, this is what I just showed you, a palette, which is associated to the properties panel. Okay. Now, if you want to be able to create a palette from another field, in this case, this is more like electrical. So typically what you can do is if you just right click, if you just come here, if you just right click in this space right here, you can, and then you come down to tool palette group. You have civil, structural, manufacturing. If I go to civil um, and click it, okay, let's see where you are. That has been initiated. If you want to be able to see, show. Okay, here we go. So if you want to be able to show it, okay, it's a civil part, and it just has multiple information that civil engineering typically would use, or CAD civil would typically use. Okay. Okay, so we can do that. And again, you can move this ribbon and dock it wherever you typically find fit. Okay. Now, dialog boxes. Again, when you click these arrows, of course, you're going to get a dialog box. It's going to look like this. Okay, on the annotation. And then if you click the first one, which is standard, this is nothing more than text. Okay, it's going to give you a layout that's going to look like this. Okay, and then if you click your manage text styles, you're going to get your image to look like this. Okay, and then you can choose whatever font you want, what the height is. You can pretty much be more specific in your text. Okay, likewise, if I choose that same annotation, but rather than choosing the text style, I can choose the dimension style manager. Okay. Once I click that, I'm going to get this dialog box where my cursor is. Okay. And then to the left of it, if I click the text tab and those three dots, I'll still come to my text style. So just kind of give you, if I come here under annotation, under my dimension style manager, if I want to manage it, the dimension styles, I click it. And this I just go to modify for now, right? Another dialog box pops open. I can click the text tab, and these three dots right here, I can click it, and it will give me the same text style that I had before, okay? So these are just multiple ways of you being able to do the same thing, okay? Your dynamic input allows you to just pretty much focus while you're drawing, okay? So when dynamic input is on, a temporary input area appears typically in the drawing, okay? So typically, what that typically means is, let's say I go back to I want to be able to draw, and this is my dynamic input again. This dynamic input is right here. It is on. If I click it again, it's going to be off. If I click it and it's being highlighted as blue, it's going to be on. If I click or initiate the line command, I left click, and I'm going to hit Auto by hitting F8 to keep my line straight. So typically, this is just giving me information right here, the length of the line and the angle at which the line it typically is in. So it's 3.4893 units long, and it's in the 0 direction. Okay, so that's typically what your dynamic input really it does. Okay? It gives you information typically on the screen. So getting help is very, very important. Again, as I showed you, if you hover over a command, it can give you more information by pressing F1. Okay, you can also get help from initiating the question mark. Okay, right up here in the upper right hand corner. By you clicking that, you can get help and type in the keyword, and it can give you more information. Okay. So what I'd like for you to do for chapter 1 in your textbook, right? I want you to be able to answer questions 1 through 30. Okay. And now when you go a few pages forward, you're going to come to the advanced section, and I want you to just choose only one question between problems 9 and 11. Okay. And this is going to be due. This is due. Let's see here. This is going to be due on the 22nd. Better yet, they're due on the 22nd. Okay. All right. Now, the last component of that chapter, you're going to come across what you know as an AutoCAD Certified Professional Exam Practice, right? So these are some of the questions that potentially be asked if you want to become certified, like an AutoCAD certified personnel, okay? It's not mandatory, but if you do want to take it a step further, I recommend that you know how to answer those questions, okay? Again, these are only 2 problems that are due next week. I'm sorry, not next week, 2 weeks from now, okay? 22nd of September, okay? Let's dive into chapter 2. Okay, so in chapter 2, again, typically showed you how to initiate a new drawing or a template. Okay, again, you can type in Q new. So you can typically type in Q NEW to really start a new drawing or to initiate a template. Okay. As I said before, and I talked about this in the few slides before, you typically begin a new drawing by referencing a template. Okay. Again, each industry is going to have its own way of doing things as far as creating a title block what are the thickness of the lines, the text. That's all um, based on the industry that you're typically working in or working for. Okay, and the only templates that come with title blocks will be architecture and manufacturing. Okay, your CAD ISO and the Imperial do not come with title blocks. We will create a title block. Again, I just showed you how if you don't want the title of the template to always be popping up every time you want to create a new page, you can just click or start. I'm sorry, you can type in startup and then type in one, and it's always going to bypass the template coming up, the dialog box of the template coming up as an option. Okay, so this is how you do it alternatively. Okay, um, again, with your 2D applications, you have um, two types of templates. You have a US customary one, and then you have the metric ISO standards, okay, which is going to be named AutoCAD ISO, okay, .dwt, okay. So keep in mind that these are your different types of templates. I just showed you how, again, just reiterating what I said before. If you want to bypass this, again, you can do that by creating your own template. Also, you can do it by typing in startup, okay, and in the command window and type in one, okay. And when you do that, this dialog box, this template will not come up any longer. Okay, so again, I want you to be able to learn more about quick startup templates from your textbook in chapter 2. So kindly read more into, if you want to know more, I suggest that you dig more into the textbook. Okay, saving your work cannot be stressed enough. Kindly save your work. It's very important. You can make that a habit by every 10 to 15 minutes. You're just saving your work. You know, back up your files. Memory stick is good, but some people um, do not take care of their memory sticks. Okay, and it's important that you do, because if you don't, when you need that information, that memory stick may have been corrupted. It may have been dropped in some water, whatever the case may be. But just guard the memory stick or the external hard drive with your life. Okay, external hard drives a little bit more expensive. Please do not drop them. Um, they can be hard to retrieve the data if they're dropped and they malfunction. Okay, so if you want to save, you can just type in Q save or Control S. Okay. Again, this is the symbol for save. Okay, on AutoCAD, the command. You can also save from the application menu. Okay. Um, and just keep in mind that your extension should always be .dwg. Okay. Now, if you want to be able to save your work automatically, you can just go to options, as I showed you earlier before. But now this time, you want to go under Open and Save tab. Okay, and that's right here. Open and Save tab. Okay. And then under your file safety precautions, you can save automatic, and that's every 10 minutes you want it to save. And this will save you. This will save a whole lot of headache if anything was to go wrong. Okay, so you want to learn more about Drawing Recovery Manager, I suggest that you take a look at chapter 2. Okay, so I would like for you just to read the following: how to close a file, how to open a save file, finding a file, how do you manage multiple documents, what does it mean to have multiple drawings open, right? And then you can kind of click through them, which would be your Control F6, okay? And your drawing units. Okay? I kind of showed you that last week, how to initiate drawing limits. There's multiple ways, but I would like for you to revisit that video if you have, if you don't really remember that much, okay? Drawing limits, I touched on this last week as well. So whenever you initiate a new drawing, you've highlighted your drawing limits, okay, and your precision. No, I mean, if you're going to use decimal, your drawing limits typically they kind of set the tone for how you want your object to be. And what that typically means is the drawing page of AutoCAD is typically infinity. But the problem that I've run into over the years is if you set your drawing limits, whenever you begin to input text or dimension, AutoCAD automatically adjusts the size based on the limits that you have set for your drawing. So you don't have to scale up or scale down to try to fit the drawing, the object itself. Everything would kind of be proportional in terms of your drawing. Okay, so kind of keep that in mind. Whenever you're doing imperial, as I said before, once you choose your imperial template and you type in drawing limits, okay. Well, actually, you type in limits, okay. You type in limits, and then your lower left-hand corner is going to be 0, 0. So, in other words, think of this as like a graph piece of paper, and this is your y-axis, and this is your x-axis, and this is your origin right here. So he's going to start from your origin for the most part, right? So that's going to be 0, 0, and then my upper part, upper right-hand corner, just tells me what's going to be the size, really, or the space of this particular page that I'm going to draw my object in, and that's going to be in an imperial. It's going to be 12, 9. Now it can go larger. Again, I'll show you how to just look at a drawing and can determine how do you want your drawing limits to be. Okay, again, your drawing limits really help you set the tone of you not trying to figure out what should be the size of your text or the size of your dimensions, because AutoCAD will figure all that out for you based on the limits that you set for your drawing. Now for imperial, for metric, they kind of grow a little bit larger, 420 by 297. Okay. We'll get more into that. Okay. For chapter 2, I would like for you to answer all the questions, and that's all the questions in the like more the essay problems, not the actual drawings themselves. Okay. Let me just be kind of give you the right chapter 2. So chapter 2, so these are just the chapter review. Okay, this is right here known as the chapter review. And I would like for you to answer all of them. Okay. Do not address the drawing problems. Okay. Just the chapter review alone. Okay. And that's in the back of your textbook, chapter 2. Again, if you're interested in the certified professional exam, I recommend that you answer these questions as well. Okay. So let's move on to chapter 3. Okay. And we'll look at some introduction. Again, I've done some of this in the first video, but I have this habit of repeating processes that's already been done, so with the expectation that it could be reinforced in your mind. Okay. Now the option of drawing a line, you have quite a few of them. In this case, I'll show you how to do the relative rectangular coordinate. Okay. So when you're creating a new drawing, again, you get to choose whether you want your template to be imperial or metric. But in this case, we're just going to go with imperial. Again, set your limits. Okay, so your limits is nothing more than your drawing space. Okay, you set the lower and the upper limits. Okay. Now your user coordinate axes, in reference to your relative rectangular coordinates, is along the x and y. Okay, which are positive. Okay, that's a coordinate system. How it helps us to visualize the orientation of your drawing. Okay, that's what we need the coordinate axes for. It's almost like a GPS, so to speak. Okay, so And it's, you see that it's going to be a X and Y right here. Okay. And if you want to change that for any reason, you can just right click on it to highlight it, and then you can go to your icon settings, go to properties, and then you can change them however you feel like you want to do. If you want to increase the size, you can. Okay. If you want to change the color, you can. Okay. It's all up to you. If you want to increase the line weight, you can do that. You can make it thicker. Okay. So again, the functionality of this software is really at your fingertips. You know how you want to make it. It's, you can make it easy for yourself, just being able to customize every single command or every single facet of AutoCAD to make your journey, your CAD experience more pleasant. Okay. Um, gonna come back here. Okay, so I just showed you all of this right here. Um, Now, with the rectangular coordinate system, essentially what you're doing really, if I may erase this part, essentially what you're doing is where my user coordinate axis system is. That's where 0, 0 is. That is the origin of this particular page. So if I wanted to draw a line, if I click the line command by left clicking it, the command window is asking me specify your first point. So I'm going to type in 0, 0. All right, and I hit enter. And as you can see, let me take off my Auto F8. As you can see, I'm right there at that origin, right there. Okay. Now, if I want to go over, um, I want to go over 6 units to my right. I would type, I will hold the shift key and hit the @ sign, as you can see here. Okay, that's the @ button, and then I'm going to type 6, 0. Okay, hit enter. At that point, I'm at the sixth. I'm at the sixth 6 units over from the origin along the x-axis. Okay. Now, before I go further, let me just show you, which we're going to talk about. But let me, this grid right here, I could turn this off. I could turn this on. So each line, if I were to right click on this grid and then left click the grid setting, as you can see, the spacing is 0.5 along the x and 0.5 along the y. Okay. So I'm just going to cancel this. So if you want to change that, you can. It's up to you. Now, if you notice that each line is 0.5, so if I count 1, this is 0.5, that's 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. And I went over 6 units. So you can see right there that we are correct in terms of our input, in terms of relative rectangular coordinate systems. Okay. So let me back up here. Let's say Control Z. Okay. I'm going to hit line again, and I'm going to, AutoCAD is asking me to specify your first point, 0, 0. Hit enter. I'm right here at that point. So if I hit Shift @ 6, 0. And the reason why I'm choosing 6 first, because 6 is a point. So you have x, y. So 6 is the, I'm going 6 units over, and on the y-axis is 0. So if I want to go up, right, I can go Shift, and I want to go 5 units up. I'm going to go Shift, 0, 5. Okay. And now if I want to go across, right, back to the y-axis, I'm going to Shift @ okay, and I'm going the opposite way, so that's going to be -6, 0. And I can just close it. I have the option if I want to close it here, or I want to type in the number. I can just hit close, and it will close it right there. It will close the command by connecting the previous point up here with this point down here. Okay, so that's with the relative coordinate entry method. Okay, I personally don't use this kind of method. I know how to use it, but it's not really something I really like to do. Okay, again, you're gonna find your preference on which style works for you. Okay, now you have the Cartesian method, right? Again, if you set up your template to be imperial, and again, this is just an example. You don't have to, but I'm just choosing as an example. Your lower limit is 0, 0, and then your upper limit is 12, 9. So in this case, you're gonna, after you initiate the line command, you want to type in 0, 0. Okay. Once you've done that, you want to be able to now, rather than you type in shift at, you just typically type in 6, 0 when AutoCAD asks you to specify your next point. Okay. Again, you don't have to put it in parentheses. Okay, so just 6, 0. Then once you do that, now in this case it's slightly different. You want to type in 6, 5 because you at this point, this is going to be 6, and the point you're going to is that's going to be 6, 5. Okay, and then if you want to go further, you're going to type in 0, 5, which is going to take you back to the y-axis, and then you can type in 0, 0. Just type in close. Okay, to close that command. My favorite style of that's the Cartesian way of drawing a line. My favorite style is typically using the polar coordinates. Okay, so there's two things I need to know. I need to have the distance, which is going to be from the origin, and the angle between the distance of r and the positive x-axis. Okay, so I have here my polar graph, so to speak. I have 0 axis, 90, 180, 270, back to 360. Okay, so I typically draw lines based on a distance and an angle. Okay, and you typically will see that from here. You can see if I put on my ortho, I can type in now 6 units over. I can type in now, I'm going 90 degrees now. I'm typing in 5 units, going up. Now, AutoCAD knows I'm going in the direction of 180. Okay, so I just type in 6.0, and I can just type in C as in close, and it will close it right then and there. Okay, so for me, it's just less typing, more clicking, and then I still get the same job done. Okay, and let's go here. So again, I showed you how the grid mode works. Okay, and how you can. This is how you activate it. Control G or F7, or you can go to graph settings, and then you still get the same dialog box I showed you earlier. The snap mode allows you to snap on that particular drawing. So if I initiate the snap mode, and if I want to hit line, as you can see, it's pulsating every 0.5 units over. Okay, it's pulsating. So all those grid lines is pulsating those grid lines. Okay, and that's what your snap object being on. Okay, and I can get rid of the grid if I want to by clicking it, and I can get rid of the grid. Okay. Now polar tracking again. You can. That's been initiated by F10. It allows you to, whenever you want to use polar tracking, this is going to be your. This is your polar tracking here, F10, or I can just click on the status toolbar. If I want to create a line, okay, let me come here. Okay, let's see what happened here. Okay, let me see. Okay, here we go. So I turn on my polar tracking. As you can see, I can now set this. I can set the settings if I want a line to appear every 15 degrees. If I want my cursor to, so I can set it every 15 degrees, every 30 degrees. It goes to 15 is 45, then 60, So every 45 degrees, I'm sorry, every 15 degrees, it actually prompts me. Okay, so you can set that here. Okay, you can set that here. Okay, and you can turn it off and on if you want to. If you want additional angles, you can do that as well. If it's some that is not within this category right here, if you want it to be 2.5, you can just set that right here. Okay, under new. Okay, let me just, and let me go back here. Okay, so some of the important commands that could be your friend: undo, oops, redo. Control Z is also undo as well. Erase. Um, so there's quite a few more, but I would like for you to read in your textbook, chapter 3. It's a very short chapter, and I'll end right here. Thank you very much.